So here's my review of Grapes of Wrath. I just finished reading it yesterday, and I managed to get through it in I think it was 3 or 4 days. I had a lot of time to read because I was on the public transport all week. So anyway, some themes of Grapes of Wrath are is the evil of unchecked capitalism. That's the first and like the most obvious theme, which is present throughout the entire book, which we see from the very start of the book when the family of the Jodes are kicked off their land at the very start because of people are moving from an era where farmers own the land, like every single family farms its own land, and you'll have 20 farmers on, I don't know, 20 acres. I don't exactly know how all the farming technicalities are, but 20 families for 20 acres. And then we're moving to an era of bigger capitalism. So we're going to have bigger tractors, more machines, which are more efficient. So you don't need 20 families. You only need maybe one guy on a tractor, and he can farm the 20 acres of land much more efficiently. So what ends up happening, all of the families are evicted off the land. And where do they go? California, because they've seen these pamphlets. So that is obviously, an evil of capitalism. We're seeing these people who are, their houses where they've lived, where they've fought for their entire lives, are being kicked away. And throughout the book, there are tons and tons and tons of different examples of how unchecked capitalism is super evil. So, I bet this book probably was not super liked by some people. At some points, probably pretty controversial. I'm not sure, but I'd assume so. The next like big theme that is touched upon is just the depravities of poverty. So how being in poverty, what it does to people, and there's a lot of it's really depicted by the hunger because the people become so impoverished that they have nothing to eat. So it doesn't go as bad as cannibalism, but I'm sure it happened, and it just talks about how their kids with their bloated stomachs and how once people get hungry, they'll be willing to work for nothing. They'll be willing to work essentially what like Chinese labor camp wages would be nowadays. So I don't know if that's a similar case going on in China, but it's not really my point. It just and yeah, back to the depravities of poverty. It just becomes essentially really fucked up where you'll see these people who have literally nothing. They don't have money for gas, and then they have to sell their car for like $10 because some guy will come around, that represents one of the evils of unchecked communism because people will just come around buying cars, and these people are so hungry that they'll be willing to sell their cars for $10. They might have bought it for 75, but they'll be willing to sell it for $10 because they literally just need something to eat. So we've got evils of unchecked poverty, or sorry, evils of unchecked capitalism and the depravities of poverty. Also, a big I wouldn't say this is like a big theme, but more of just a setting is early America, and it's pretty interesting. The way people talk in Grapes of Wrath is very southern. They're from Oklahoma, and they're called Okies, which is a slur for all people from Oklahoma who moved to California. It's kind of like I don't know how black people might have been called the N word to degrade them. Similarly, all the people who aren't native born Californians, or they just they're impoverished. They're called Reds or Okies. And then also we've got a big theme is like feudalism where there'll be one person which kind of ties into capitalism where it'll be one person who owns tons of land and would literally rather let it rot, so they'd rather like throw away all of the great land rather than give it to the farmers that are willing to farm the land in order to create an impoverished essentially serf race, and that just ensures them that they can stay on top of the food chain because if everybody is if there aren't people who are desperate, if there aren't people selling their cars for $10, so then they can be resold for $75, who's going to make a profit? And a big thing is how can I just make my $3 a day? And $3 a day is how can I essentially get by? How can I continue living? So anyway, I've got a few. I read it on my Kindle. I've got a few passages that I highlighted. One of them that I just really thought was great. I think it just represents the Steinbeck style greatly. And this is going to be on page 185 of chapter 8. And so this is when Al, who is the Jodes, he's not the youngest, but he's 16 and he drives the bus. He's like essentially a swagger, like always looking for a girl, always trying to look to make a move. And he gets a little impatient towards the end of the book, but that's not really my point. So anyway, this is when he first meets his older brother, Tom, and Tom has killed a guy, and so Al naturally thinks it's really cool because he's a 16-year-old and he's like, yeah, my older brother killed a guy, so it's like you gotta respect him a little bit. So this is when Al first sees Tom, and he says, cockily, he walked close before he recognized Tom, and when he did, his boasting face changed, and his admiration and veneration shone in his eyes, and his swagger fell away. His stiff jeans, with the bottoms turned up 8 inches to show his heeled boots, his 3-inch belt with copper figures on it, and even the red armbands on his blue shirt and the rakish angle of his Stetson hat could not build him up to his brother's stature, for his brother had killed a man, and no one would ever forget it. Al knew that even he had inspired some admiration among boys of his own age because his brother had killed a man. He heard that in Salisaw, how he was pointed out. That's Al Jode. His brother killed a fellow with a shovel. And now Al, moving humbly near, saw that his brother was not a swaggerer as he supposed. Al saw the dark, brooding eyes of his brother, and the prison calm, the smooth, hard face trained to indicate nothing to a prison guard, neither resistance nor slavishness, and instantly Al changed. Unconsciously, he became like his brother, and his handsome face brooded, and his shoulders relaxed. He hadn't remembered how Tom was. So I thought that was a great passage. Maybe my favorite passage of the book. And really, it's just so like subtle. The way Steinbeck's writing is just amazing. Where this kid who's like a swagger, he's very full of himself, sees, what real coolness, I guess you could say, or what real toughness and hardness likes, and he instantly just changes. He loses his swaggering ways in literally an instant. And I guess it's hard to explain why it's so perfect, but if you read the book, I think you'd understand. Probably really connect to that passage. But anyway, my overall thoughts on Grapes, I really liked it. Comparing it to East of Eden, which I just finished a while back, I'm not sure. I think I like Grapes a little bit better, just because like all the country talking. I don't know. It gives it a lot of character. Obviously, East of Eden's a great book, but Grapes, I think I just enjoyed it a little bit better. Yeah, that's my review for Grapes of Wrath, and I did enjoy it.